There you go. We'll pin him as well.
Quick, have Jeannie lead it.
Thanks, Scott.
All right,
I
you
can-
guys are live.
We are live. So
Scott, were you serious?
No,
Good.
I think Eldon's starting us off, no?
I could start.
away.
now. It's fine. So welcome everybody. And we're gonna get this thing kicked off. Just welcome to the pregame show. We've got a great group of people on today, and we're kind of a whole theme of today is going to be kind of back to the basics and the fundamentals. And I think a lot of times people forget the fundamentals. They want to get sophisticated, and it's the basic fundamentals that help you build a business. And it's good to be reminded of that. And so, we got a great panel of people here that have been really good at the fundamentals. And one of the main fundamentals is that you actually need to be able to talk to people. And Mike Rosinski, you have always ran a fundamental style business, and you have some insights into what you teach new people and say, hey, these are just the basic fundamentals that you got to start to learn or do to relate to people.
Well, the first thing is you'll never know everything until you're out on appointments. And the best way to learn the business the fastest is get 8 to 10 appointments every week, and you'll learn it fast. And when you run into a problem, you can always say, hey, you know what? I know some people in the office that would have that answer. You can always bring the answer back to the person, and you'll get very experienced in a short period of time if you collapse your time frame and have a lot of appointments. And you can always bring your upline with you as a crutch, whether they do the presentation, you do the presentation part of it. But the best way is not learn as you go. That was my philosophy, is learn as you go. You're never going to get it all at one time. All these people are giving us great information every week, but you got to take the information, you got to take it in the field, and you got to use it. It's like driving the car. The first time we get our driver's license, we're no good at driving, but as we go over the years, we get good at driving because of experience. Same thing with our business. It's just a learn as you go, but do it in a fast way. And the fastest is a lot of appointments in a short period of time.
Nick, what about from your side?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. It's just, I think if you really want to build, you need 10 to 20 appointments a week. And I think the easiest way to do it is just to ask people, I was wondering if you could do me a favor, and just learn that over and over and over again. And don't make the mistake of, once they say yes, what is it? Just say, I just want to get together, show you what I do. If it's for you, great. But if it's not, you may know some people. And just the natural inclination is you start telling them everything about it. You tell them about the Rule 72. You tell them about all the things you're learning, and then they don't need an appointment. They know that they're not yet interested, and they move on. This was 2 or 3 years into the business, but I heard someone tell me that if you concentrate on 2 by 2 daily, so set 2 and go on 2 every day, everything else will work in its place. So once you've done 2 appointments, don't give up. You got to get 2 replacements, whether that's on those getting referrals or getting on the phones afterwards. But just 2 by 2 daily for the first 3 to 5 years of your business will build you a solid base, and everything's gravy from there.
Let me ask you a question, Nick. Did you ever feel scared when you were making those appointments and thinking, oh, I just don't have everything together the way that I would want to?
I mean, you do a little bit every once in a while, but most people, like, I was 27 years old. So everybody I was talking to was 27 years old and broke.
Okay.
Right. So they didn't know anything. So when you come across other cases, then you, like Mike said, you just talk about, I'll pass this through a few people in the office. I actually learned that from a doctor at one point I was meeting with a doctor, and he's like, listen, if you don't pass things through others, I would never trust you. As a doctor, I get all this information, and I may know what the solution is if it's simple, but if it's complicated, I want a second opinion. I'm a doctor. I want 3 doctors' opinions on what I think I'm going to start with on Medicaid, different things. if you get so good where you never ask for a second opinion, then you're very limited in your viewpoints, which is why I still have a great relationship with all the wholesalers, because I bounce ideas off them, and then, you know, through conversations with others. But you never want to be so good that you never have to ask anybody anything.
Love it. Jeannie, share with us.
So I wish this could be like nice and clean, like, okay, I did my 8-5-3-1 a day and, you know, everything was nice and neat. But in all honesty, the first 3 years I was in Primerica, I was part-time. My full-time job was I was a lawyer. And so I just made a mess. Honestly, I just made a mess. Like when I got out of work, my goal was to be on appointments. And if I could get appointments 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock, and I would do that. And if I couldn't get the appointments late into the night, you know, then I was on the phone, or I was, you know, that really wasn't cell phones. Like cell phones weren't what, you know, you had to pay by the minute. So it wasn't like what it is now. You could text somebody later, you could DM them late. You can't do that. You couldn't do that back then. So I just knew that I had this schedule I had to work. So if I got out of work at 6, I could do a 6:30 appointment, and then I could do a 7-ish, 7:30-ish, 8-ish, and ish gives you kind of like a swing 15 minutes either way. And 50% of your appointments are going to cancel anyway. So even if I was setting them in half-hour increments, very rarely did I ever get backed up because appointments would cancel. And then ish allows you to push it back a little bit. Hey, I'm running late. I was just hung up on my prior appointment. And then the weekends were, you know, all day, every day. And that was the first 3 years. And then I was able to come full time. And honestly, when I came full time, I didn't manage my time as well because I didn't have this artificial construct of a job in the middle of my week that I had to work around. All of a sudden, all my time was open. And I really screwed up the first year I came full time. So we had to really learn time management. And I think if you have effective time management, then you could do what Nick is talking about, which is just, you know, set your goals, bang it out, but fill your time. Don't waste your time. You know, the only way to make Primerica go faster is to do it bigger. You can't make it go fast. People make decisions on their own time schedule, but you could do it bigger.
Wow, that is powerful. And I know somebody that's always had a unique viewpoint on these things as you, Doug. Just share with us this morning.
Okay, thank you, Eldon. I just taking a step a little farther back into the beginning of your journey here. People dial into this call for knowledge, but primarily to deepen their belief. And so when you go to the field, and when we went to the field initially, we believed that we had the gold of the financial kingdom to offer in the FIN number, and we set FIN numbers. That was our primary goal. And so it was one of those things where you were just trying to convey and help people to have the same belief as you did about how money works. And the belief system deepened the more progressive that was as you began to really sincerely and genuinely help people. And so, and I do think that that's kind of the way it is. Like, people are afraid. There's a lot of fear and to approach people. And the initial approach is always the most difficult thing. We say, oh, we got to have end-to-end appointments. Okay, that's fine. And that's true. But the trick is the single biggest problem that people have in this business is how to get in front of enough of the right kind of people. That's the single number one problem or challenge. But and the only way that's going to happen is if you have some very deep-seated beliefs. And anything that you get excited about will work. Anything. It doesn't really matter what it is, so long as you're excited about what you believe and you can convey those beliefs. And so I just think that anything that we can do, like calls like this, are very helpful, because not only does it improve people's knowledge, but it helps people to deepen their belief in the value and the quality of what we're doing here, and to convey as this very powerful message. And so when people would say no, which they inevitably do, I learned to feel sorry for them in a way, because they would miss the opportunity to have a conversation with somebody like me that could change their life. And so that was the eventual mindset that and then when we have a lot of success, like we've had over many, many years, sometimes we can easily forget how fearful it was when we first started. But we had something that was very, very precious to deliver to the world.
Wow. I love the insights. Scott, your perspective.
Yeah, I love what Doug said. I was actually thinking about something similar before he started talking. I mean, I think that, you know, this business all comes down, obviously, to you're either setting appointments or you're on appointments. And while the MPI and some of the other meetings that everybody is attending is designed to give you confidence and conviction and help you go along, you know, ultimately, it's not going to get easier to get yourself started. You have to get yourself started. If you're not going to set appointments, you don't need licenses, you don't need training. You can eliminate a lot of things if you're just not going to set appointments. I mean, all the things that we're doing is about you getting in front of people. So, and not to make it easier to get started, but rather when you do get started, that you have more conviction, that you have more knowledge, but you've just got to get started. We have a question in Maritza asked, you know, how long should an appointment be? Yes, that's exactly it. It should be as long as it needs. It should be like, you can't dissect an anatomy of an appointment. It's just not going to get easier. You just have to do it and get started, and then it works itself through. So,
So well said. Mark.
So much wisdom has been shared. I think one of the things that people need to understand, their goal is to get a client or get a recruit, right? It's to get some kind of end result. And you got to stay focused on that as your primary thing. But when you're new, there's some other things that you can be doing. I 100% agree with everything that everybody has said. But I'm telling you, for me, I needed to practice, drill, and rehearse, right? Training and prep. I mean, the way I came in this business, somebody gave me a flip chart presentation, right? I still have that flip chart presentation because I hang on to stuff like that. But I remember before I did my first appointment, going through that flip chart, right? Pretending like somebody was on the other side of the table. And I remember doing it to at that time, my girlfriend, which became my wife, but I'd say, let me go through this with you. And of course she said all the right things. Yeah, that was really good, but at the end, that preparation should lead to a question. And one of the things that we try to teach our people, new people especially, to grasp and embrace is asking the question, if I can, would you? If I can, ... would you? ... right? If I can show you something significantly better than what you're currently doing, would you be open to doing something different? Or would you be willing to take a look at what I have to share? And so when you ask questions, when you ask really good questions of people that can keep that ball rolling to the next phase of the process of getting the result, I think it kind of helps a little bit. And the way you do that is through preparation. As Scott pointed out, one of the best books I ever read, I've read at least, 100 and, well, the first 3 chapters of 100 and some odd books, right? One of them is a book called The Power of Focus. Just a book I read from cover to cover. And one of the chapters talked about stepping into your fear, right? Feel the fear. If you've done that preparation and you've done some of that extra work and you've watched it's amazing, as fearful as you are, when you actually step into it and start to do it, some of that training and some of those things that you've been observing and some of those things that you've been doing to a ghost, right? They kind of kick in and it keeps the ball rolling. But having props like 6-page presentations and how money works books and things like that, it helps. It helps bring you the confidence that you need to keep the ball rolling. So
Fantastic. I want to ask our last two panelists here, and then we'll roll into the main show because this ties in so well with everything that we're doing today. And Dad, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, ultimately, there's only two parts of the business. You're going to get in the people business. You better figure that out early. And you're going to get in the asset business. And then you're going to do some term insurance to protect people properly. I mean, I look at people that are professionals. I went to the doctor and they took a few parts off yesterday. And I went like, I wouldn't do this if you paid me $1 million a year. I could sit down with people and visit with them. And, it's amazing if you get really good with people and you're friendship farming all the time and you're building your CRM database, your people will eventually be referring you and the relationships will be coming back all the time. And, you got to pay the price. I mean, you got to pay the price on appointments, you got to pay the price. But at the end of the day, I mean, your assets will grow, your recurring income will grow, your business will grow, but you never forget in business, you got to bring in more people because you're going to lose some. You got to bring more in, and you've got to get more assets. And then the rest of the stuff you're going to do because of a reflex almost. And you get so good at this stuff, and you get good at questions. I think what happens, most people get good at talking, but they got to get good at questioning. And if they get good at questioning, they start making a lot of money. They start making a lot of money. They get better at questioning. They realize that, okay, I talk too much. Well, that's why we encourage people to record themselves. You go to an appointment, record yourself. What do you sound like? I hate myself when I listen to myself. But then I realized, yeah, you talk too much. Then you start questioning more and let them talk. And you go, wow, this business is not hard. It's like, learn what they want, give it to them. Learn what they want, give it to them. And that's all there is to this business. Back to you.
Fantastic. And now you guys can see what kind of training I had. Three appointments, and then you're on your own, figure it out. And record yourself, quit talking. You talk too much. So, just great words of wisdom. Kurt, share with us.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that people lack is confidence. And when I got involved, I'm going to go back to the beginning, like some of the other folks. When I got involved in the business, I was following Danny Cresswell, following Ronnie Barnes. I'm thinking, like, if I'm trying to recruit Jeannie, what does she have to offer me compared to that? If I could be like a quarter of Ronnie Barnes, I'm going to be like in heaven for the rest of my life. I mean, are you kidding me? If I could be a quarter of Danny Cresswell. So I got probably cocky. So sorry, should have been confident early on, thinking, hey, I'm following somebody who's going someplace. What do they have to offer me? One time in a recruiting interview, Eldon, the guy was kind of giving me a hard time. I took my pen and I handed it to him. I said, here, you try to convince me to do what you do for a living. And just looked at him like that. No, the attitude changed immediately in the room. Like, okay. And I looked at the impact that you could make on people's lives. $100 a month at 12% for 40 years is $1 million too. $100 a month at 3% for 40 years is $100,000. I'm talking to Nick Therian. If he doesn't listen, I'm going to lose a couple thousand in income over my life. He's going to lose $1 million. He's got a lot more to lose than me. He better listen, because I might leave and then he's really screwed at that point, because who's going to talk to him? He makes $35,000 a year like I used to. It's like, he don't mean nothing to nobody. The whole lifeguard, the banker is going to attack him. So, what do they have to offer me? What do I have to offer them? They have a lot more to lose than me. Now, that's easy to say now, but that's the approach I really tried to take. I mean, I'm following somebody who wants me to win. If I win, it's better for them. It wasn't that way for my boss. If I'd have got really good at my job at one of my old jobs, I'm threatening my boss now because I might get their position. Here, it's like, no, they're going like, come on, let's get it going. So some thoughts.
Fantastic. And I think that just rolls right in. Brad, let's get you spotted on there. Kick us off today. I know that you're going to share with people. You got a great kickoff today. So let's just turn the show over to you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to MPI. We got 1,200 people on. I guess not bad for a super long weekend. Somebody told me one time every weekend's a long weekend in Primerica. Those are the people that aren't making the big money. But anyway, I want to just kind of we went back to the basics today because I've gotten a lot of texts from people, and you know, I got some I get a lot of cards and texts and emails. Somebody sent me a Joe Grant. I don't know who you are, but you sent me an amazing letter yesterday. I just want to say we do what we're doing because we want to help other people have success as well and give back. And so I'm going to go through a real simple orientation, and we're going to go right back into the panel, and we're going to dive deep into the simplicity of our business, and you know, and hopefully help a lot of you out who might be on here saying, this stuff is so over my head. I feel so inadequate being on these meetings, and I understand sometimes it gets a little tech because we're trying to provide value for everybody at wherever they're at in the business, and so but I just want to let you know you are at the right place at the right time. You are in the financial industry. Why is this the best place for you? Because you might be sitting here, some of you saying, I'm hoping this works, but if it doesn't, I'm gonna have to go find something else. And I'm like, forget it. There is nothing else. This is it. The financial industry is the wealthiest industry in the world. There are more people making 100,000 a year, 100,000 a month, 100,000 a week in this industry than any other industry. It provides a very unique opportunity in our business to build very significant passive income as you build your client base. Also, you're at the right place at the right time. And man, we live in North America. I think that's the main reason you should be in this industry, because as great as life can be here, you got to have a lot of money to enjoy a great life. And so there's not a lot of places you can go than this industry. This is the best place for you to be. Look at this. This industry, the one that we're disrupting, is the largest industry in the world. Even if you never thought about this industry as an option for you in the past, the opportunities are almost unlimited and might be something you should consider. Check this out. We are 7 times bigger than the automotive industry. We're 5 times bigger than oil and gas. We're 4 times bigger than food. I'm not talking about fast food. I'm talking about every grocery store, all of them put together, every restaurant, all put together, where the financial industry is 4 times bigger than that. In fact, we're bigger than number 2 and number 3 combined on the planet. You are in the right industry. Okay, so you might be sitting here saying, okay, I'm in the right industry, but it doesn't feel like it's right for me because I'm not making any money. Well, let me tell you this. We're also at the right place at the right time in history. Since the beginning of the financial transactions that took place in caves amongst cavemen trading shells, you know, and the financial industry got created, to up until today, there has never been a better time to be in this industry than today. This is the golden age of the financial industry. We call it the wall of wealth. We are about to weaponize the damn wall of wealth with the company, and it's going to be unbelievably amazing. And you really have 2 jobs here, and that is to build AUM. One job to build AUM, whether it's assets under management or advisors under management, that's your job. And so I want to show you really simply, you know, how I was able to do this by studying successful people like Arlie Larson in the business. And but I want to let you know something. Are we in a bear? Are we in a bull? What do I do now that we're in a bear? What do I do now that we're in a bull? What's going to happen with the US dollar? Is the debt ceiling gonna all of those things have nothing to do whether with you building AUM, with you helping your clients get financially independent. And it's really, 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 really important for you to understand that you can't control anything about the market or the economy that you're in. The only thing you can control is your behavior. And controlling your behavior is the most important thing that you can do in helping your clients determine whether they become financially independent or not. And I want to read you this because I think it's really critical that everybody understands this. I read this a lot. I have to remind myself that I'm not that smart, that I haven't figured anything out about the market, that at the end of the day, none of that stuff is important. The only thing that's really important is behavior, and that's what we are. We are behavior modifiers. We are not portfolio pickers. We're not stock pickers. We're not soothsayers of what's going to happen in the market this month, or next year. That's not what we do. You can take that pressure off of yourself. That's not what we do. And Nick Murray, who many of us have really learned the business from, I think he's the great grandfather of teaching people how to succeed in this business. He said, I was extremely fortunate in the mid 1980s to attend a presentation by Kahneman and Tversky, who in 1979 had published a landmark paper in Econometrica on decision-making under uncertainty. Their work became the foundation for the whole field of behavioral economics. That's what we're involved with, which studies, amongst other things, the fundamental non-rationality of investor decision-making. At that stage in my career, modern portfolio theory was in its first great phase of ascendancy. I thought and still think modern portfolio theory is absurd. Its acolytes remind me of nothing so much as people who clung to Newton's physics after Einstein, which I'm sure all of you guys understand. I finished grade 11 science. Newton's physics assumed the universe was finite and stable. Einstein demonstrated it was neither. Modern portfolio theory, which means I can pick a portfolio and move that portfolio with the market to get extreme value for clients. He says modern portfolio theory begins with the idea of a rational actor, that all market participants are rational, self-interested, and calculating. And in my experience, it suggested just the opposite, that the great mass of individual investors were non-rational and even systematically non-rational in their behavior. But I couldn't find my Einstein until blah, blah, blah. My career since then, both as an advisor and now as an advisor to other advisors, has been based on the realization that investment performance, A, can't be predicted, and anybody that says it can is going to lose their clients' money long-term. B, can't be controlled other than through asset allocation decisions between stocks and bonds. And C, does not matter. It doesn't matter that you can't time the market. That's not important. The vast preponderance of an investor's lifetime return comes not from investment performance, but from investor behavior. And that, I found, was something over which I could exercise some meaningful control if I worked on it pretty much full time. This meant that I did virtually no portfolio management. Oh my goodness. Isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing when I get smart? Isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing when I build a big asset base? Isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing when I get experience, is start to move into portfolio management, picking the right portfolio for my client, which was just fine because I decided it was mostly just a waste of energy anyway. Look at this. I've never from that day to this suggested that the funds or the fund managers I chose were going to outperform those owned by my clients' neighbors. Instead, I've maintained that my clients were going to outperform their neighbors. The trick has been getting them to see that these are two entirely different things. The reason we were going to get better results than virtually the entire rest of the investor population, I said, was that we were going to behave more appropriately than the same percentage of investors, not so much by doing something exceptionally, brilliantly right, but by avoiding the big behavioral mistakes. In a very real sense, Kahneman and Tversky gave me permission to concentrate my career as an advisor on an effort to modify investor behavior. So forget markets, forget relative performance, get your own psychology under control, and then concentrate on helping your clients to behave appropriately, or just not behave inappropriately, and you'll have more than riches, you'll have happiness. Investor performance doesn't determine real life returns, investor behavior does. That was so important to understand when I read the book, Serious Money, which you don't need to go and try and find that book. You can't find it anymore. You can get Inevitable Wealth, you can get The Game of Numbers, and it's basically the same thing. But when I read that book, it freed me up to be able to go out and build almost $1 billion of AUM, serving clients, understanding that I don't need to worry about, are we in the right portfolio? I need to worry about, am I helping my clients stay focused on their FIN number more than anything else? Listen, everybody may not need insurance. Everybody doesn't need insurance. We know that. Theory, increasing responsibility. Everyone may not have a big portfolio to move, but here's what I know. Every single person needs to invest. What's so great about this business you're in? Think about if you start a restaurant, about 13% of our cash flow goes into food. About 13% of the average person's cash flow goes through the food industry. That's restaurants, grocery stores, stuff like that. What percentage goes to automotive versus what percentage goes through financial services? 100% of the market is your potential client. 100% of people need to invest or have invested or had that need during their lifetime. 100%. You are in the greatest industry in the world. And it's amazing. It's like for people who tell me they're struggling right now, it's like, you're starving in a grocery store. You're like the person who's starving to death, locked in a grocery store. That's the way I feel about this industry. So we want to help you today to get beyond the starvation and into success. And it's really important just to understand what you do for people and go out there and do it. Focusing on opening accounts for everyone should be your primary goal in the beginning. We do PACs as low as $25 a month. You can get people for as little as $25 a month into an extreme diversified portfolio with some of the top money managers on the planet. It's unbelievable the value that we bring to the marketplace. We bring some of the best money managers in the world, and we allow clients for as little as $25 a month to diversify a portfolio with that money manager. And so your focus has to be, look, I got to get my first 100 clients. And I want to even go back farther than that. I got to do my first 100 presentations as fast as possible. I'm going to give you a tool to help you do that. But you get your first 100 clients under your belt as fast as possible. You service them with your CRM, whatever one you're using, and become worthy of acquiring high net worth clients through experience. The reason that maybe some of you are on here right now and you're thinking, man, I'm not that skilled. I'm not as the people you just saw on the panel. I'm not able to find those clients who have 300,000, 500,000, $1 million to move, or 50 million. Like we just saw the biggest trade in Canada last month was $50 million in the history of Canada, biggest single trade. How am I going to find 50 million? Well, here's what you do. You don't look for 50 million. You look for $25 a month, and you go out there and you give yourself time. It takes time to be able to do this. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself time. So I'm going to give you a tool. Okay. I use this. It's called my FIN book, my FIN 100. Okay. And I give this to every new licensed person that comes into the business. I listened to Hector Lamarck a lot early on in my career, and Hector always said, listen, focus on experience. Art Williams said experience was the key to greatness in our business. Focus on getting tons and tons of experience. Don't worry about the results in the beginning. And so you move from amateur to pro by completing your first 100 FIN presentations. And so I tell people, listen, what we do is so powerful, so profound, and yet so simple that we believe anyone can do it and succeed. Everyone knows their PIN number, but no one knows their FIN number. Once you show this very simple presentation to 100 people, you'll move from beginner to pro. I even give them the script. Hey, John, I just got licensed to work in the financial industry. I need some help. It's not something you'd be interested in, but I need to show my simple 10 to 15 minute presentation to 100 people to get my certification. Can I get you to be one of my 100? Thanks. I'll send you my Calendly link. And then so step one is learn the simple FIN presentation and how to use a financial calculator and set up your free Calendly account. Step two is start booking. Race to show this 100 times as fast as you can. You can do that in 1 month. You can do that in 1 year, or you can do that in one lifetime. It depends how quickly you want to do this business. And then I give them a slot. This is your job. Get out there as fast as possible. Don't worry about results. Don't worry about whether they'd be interested or not. Go and show this presentation to 100 people. And like Arlie said, if you tape record it, if you record yourself doing it, if you do it on Zoom, make sure you record, ask people permission to record the conversation so you can go over it later and just get better. And if you record it, you're going to see, man, that first 25, you are going to suck. But then when you get to the next 25, by the time you hit 50, you're going to be pretty damn good. By the time you hit 75, you're about as good as anybody in this business is doing that presentation. And by the time you hit 100, you are a pro in this business. And that is how you learn this business. There's no other way to do it. Yes, I will put that Fin 100 PDF on the Telegram so you can get a copy of it. And so that's your goal. If you're new here, or even if you've been here for a year, but you know damn well, listen, I don't know that presentation like I should know it. Great. Then you start your Fin 100 right now. For master the Fin, learn the financial calculator, learn the index chart, and do 100 presentations ASAP. And so here's the game plan. It's really simple. Get licensed, get your Fin 100, and then race to your first million AUM. If you write $1 million a month, once you get to the place where you can do $1 million a month, that's at least 10 million a year. You develop a 10 million AUM business that you're going to be making $50,000 to $100,000 a year. You're not going to have to worry about money once you've got that in place, and then focus your energy on gathering 50 million as fast as you can. It might take you 5 years to do it. It might take you 10 years. But once you got 50 million AUM in place, you're never going to have to worry about money again. And I don't know about the US, but in Canada, that'll generate $250,000 to $370,000 a year of trail income. Managed accounts is probably even a bit better than that. And then you're going to recruit advisors and help them run the same game plan. Once you've got 20 you and 19 others that build 50 million AUM, you got $1 billion under management, which pays you $1 million a year. And so I tell people, look, there are milestones you should be focused on. Get your first million, then go to 10, 25, 50, and then start building that team asset under management. So let me give you a couple of resources to help you out. POL has some great resources. You can go into the investment section in US and Canada and get that information. On top of it, we've got Omar's Securities Boot Camp. He recommends you watch an hour a day for 30 days. He said after you've done that, you've gone through it 3 times, you'll have all the basics down. On top of that, we've got other tools. If you go onto MPI Telegram, you can go into links and resources, and it shows you how to do a financial calculator. How to help people understand future value is really, really critically important, because the Fin number is all about that. It's about future value. And by doing the Fin number and understanding future value and getting your clients to understand it, you're basically pulling them to their future with that. And so Eldon Grace has one of the best calculator presentations on there. We use it all the time. We'll make sure you got the link is on Telegram, but it's a ways back. We'll make sure it's up there and updated. Then learn Morningstar, how to do portfolio back testing and hypotheticals. The training's on POL. You can get that. And so it's really simple. Use a CRM, get your clients or prospects into a CRM early on. And then here's a few resources to help you learn the business. I love Nick Murray. I think if I had to pick one place to go to learn how to do the business, it would be nickmurray.com. I'd buy Simple Wealth, Inevitable Wealth, The Game of Numbers, and maybe Scripts. And so in those 2 or 3 books, you can learn everything. Arlie told me one time, I think it was him that had Nick Murray, got Nick Murray's newsletter. I think it's a couple $100 a year. And so I subscribed to that. And what it did is it helped me to understand what was going on in the market so that I could have conversations with my clients so that they could stay on track. There's even some great Nick Murray stuff on YouTube. I would study everything about Nick Murray in my off hours. Howard Lashner's got a great book on Amazon I got to tell you about. It's a very easy read and full of great content. Howard's one of the best in our business. And then there's a few other sites and books that I've read and I recommend that help people out. Don Connolly's great. website. You can go onto his site. I'm not suggesting you buy all of this stuff. You know, they all sell their stuff, but you can go onto YouTube and pick up some of Don Connolly's stuff. It talks about how to tell stories with clients. I love the Advisor Coach. There's a ton of resources, PDF resources. There's so much free content in his blogs, but he's got so much great content in there for people starting in the business. And then, of course, our partner sites are great as well. And so anyway, that's the orientation. And I hope that you can really pick from that this is not a difficult business. That it's a business about booking damn appointments, you know. And I love it. Somebody, Mark said, and I wrote it down, and I get this book, The Power of Focus, if it's on Audible, because I'm not a good reader, but if it's on Audible, I'll get it and listen to it. The Power of Focus. And I saw somebody put on there, well, who's that written by? And I'm like, Google it, you know, and because I can see people get bogged down in this detail, and and I don't want to say this about that person, but I mean, you're more focused on what's the best book to read than booking a damn appointment. And that's the only way. You go get your Fin 100 done, and within a matter of 3 or 4 years, and then teach people to do that. And within a matter of 3 or 4 years, you're going to be a panelist here teaching people how and showing people how smart you are. So Eldon, let's dig into that. We got about a half hour. Let's dig into that. And let's start with Arlie. Arlie, you look good. Even with a Band-Aid on, you look great. Can you just talk about some of that, the simplicity of that? And it's interesting. We had dinner on Saturday night, and you said you were talking to a young guy, and you said, well, you know, and the guy said, I watched the Cody Beckett Fin presentation, which is also, I believe it's in the on Telegram, and if not, I'll put that one in there. And this guy watched it 10 times. He watches or listens to it on the way to do appointments or book appointments. And that's really it, right? I mean, there's just nothing more complex than that, is there?
Nothing. And you know, it's so great to hear you talk about the Fin number. I think we've been 35 years trying to get through to people that if you just focused on a Fin number, you'd learn the rest of the business. Because if you focus on the Fin number and you could set a Fin number and then you show people how to get there, you get the future pulling. If you get the future pulling, everybody gets excited. Everybody gets hope. If you don't have hope, you die. You got to get up with hope every single day. And the way you do that, set a Fin number. And a lot of people, by the time you rely on 26 pages in an F&A, and F&As are great, you should always do an F&A. But at the end of the day, if you don't pull a couple of pages out, or you can't really show cash flow really quickly to somebody, show them what inflation is going to do, then you, and Brad, to go out there and do 100 presentations, you will then have the business coined and mastered, but you won't have until you do it. When we first got into business and Doug taught me how to get to there from here, that was our first presentation. And we did it on an NCR piece of paper. And it took from where you were and where you wanted to go. And it actually drew it out and showed how much money you were going to earn in your growth years and how much you were going to spend in your spending years. And it just was in the millions, and it scared everybody to death. And a lot of people got lost in the numbers. But if you can get a little picture and show them with the financial calculator, and you get the future pulling, and you do that 100 times, you can't fail in this business. I love what you do, Brad. I love the fact that you're nailing it all the time. And I'm just about to start a new guy out in the road. Him and I are going to know my truck, you know, for the next 30 days probably. If I can go with that guy and get to at least 30 and then monitor the next 70, I think he's going to be a superstar. And my job is to make him $5,000 a month when he quits his trucking job and goes here and he has all his licenses. If he can make $5,000 a month, he can make 10 grand, he can make 20, 30, 50. So but it's that basic. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not willing to master the Fin number, you're not willing to master the calculator, you're not willing to do that stuff, then why, 1,500 people on here, 1,500 people wanting to win. Good grief, man. We owe it to you to give you the facts as simple as it is. And you master people skills like you never mastered before. You master getting back to people. You master everything about people So they feel so good about you, they like you and trust you. And then when you go to lead them, they're going to follow like sheep. And then you're going to find the leaders from the sheep that are following you. And you're going to get in that people business. Once you're in a people business and you start with those little packs. I had a guy in yesterday. He's in the coffee business. His mother's been one of my largest clients. And, you know, he's saying, you know, my mother gave me $5,000. I rolled it up yesterday. It's almost doubled. And he says, wow, that works. Yeah, everything works. Everything works over time. If you spend 50 years or 40 years in the coffee business, it'll work. Anything works. But if you want to get rich, wealthy, you get in this business, do what Brad showed you. It's unbelievable, guys. I don't know. Just, I could go on for hours, but I got to stop.
Awesome. Hey, Jeannie, my sister sent me a message. She said that comment from Jeannie, you know, I wish it looked pretty, but it was a mess for 3 years. I did appointments after. How many appointments do you think you did that first 3 years as you were moving part-time to full-time?
So I was always, you know, Jimmy Penn is my upline. And so we would go to his office on Saturdays, and he would ask you, you know, he would go around the room, how many appointments you got. And so it was always our goal to, you know, say that we had the most appointments. But one of the stories I like to tell, Brad, is we had paper files back then, right? There was no VBS. So I eventually wound up storing files in my basement. And a couple of years ago, I went to shred everything, and I had 9 file boxes of incomplete applications. So if each file box holds 100 files, I had 900 files before I went full-time and got an office of people that I was in the middle of their IBA and they didn't give me the money, or I was in the middle of writing a life app and then they changed their mind. So I don't know, like 900 people that said no in the first 3 years, you know, that's 300 a year, right? So I don't know, it was a lot. I could tell you it was a lot because the minute somebody said, yeah, I'll meet with you, I would go. You know, at the time I was married when I first got started with Primerica, and my husband worked at Con Edison, which is the New York state utility company. And so one of the guys he worked with, and I think the guy was trying to be a smart aleck, but he was like, yeah, I'll meet you down at the power plant. I get off at 1:30 in the morning and I'll do a life app. And I went and we wrote the app, you know, and now it's a cool story. Back then though, I'm thinking to myself, you know, I'm a lawyer. I don't need this crap. Like, what am I doing? You know, but now it's a fun story to tell. And, you know, so just a lot. The answer is a lot, a lot of appointments.
And you probably made $100 on that app. So that was awesome, you know,
Right.
and but that's it, right? I mean, Sue Younger told me one time she drove from her home in LA down to San Diego to do like a $35 app. And she got there and a person dark housed her. And so she drove back a couple hours. And then as she got home, the person called her and said, oh, I really apologize, but I'm ready right now. And she got back in her car and drove to make $300 or $100. I mean, that's what you do, you know, that's how you learn the business. And Nick, I don't know if it was you or Mike that said, book 2, do 2, book 2, do 2. And that's always been the battle cry is book 2 a day. If you book 2 a day, you'll end up with appointments that happen, and you can't fail here, right? Show up on Monday with 10 appointments for the week.
I find it, you know, when you think of the rule of 72, right? Money doubles. There's only 2 things you have to do: stomach the ups and downs and be patient for time to pass. But it takes years before you get real doubling, right? So when you put 10,000 in, you don't get to go to 2.5 million overnight. You got to wait 48 years if it averages out. When we build businesses, we want the 2.5 million without the patience of all the compounding effort, the compounding results, the compounding learning, and all the stuff that goes through it. It's natural. We just want to be that guy or that gal. But the end result is you get thicker skin, and you know, after 100 appointments, you pretty much cover every objection before they bring it up. And so you never get any, and the business gets real easy. And when you're new, you just feel like there's 100 objections to overcome. There really isn't. But you'll learn to put them in your presentation. You'll do it naturally. You won't even notice it. You get done and they have no questions. They move forward in many cases. But it's all that compounding learning. And the faster, Chris Roy said, how fast do you want to get through 100 appointments? 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, 30 years. You're not going to learn it quicker. And so it's how fast you want to get through those 100.
Yeah. So I think if people left here today and they said, if you're newer and you left here and you said, okay, I'm going to learn that fin, I'm going to put it on my phone, I'm going to listen to it on the way to appointments, which is what all of us did. And I'm just going to book appointments. And that's going to be my focus. Is I don't care about anything else but booking appointments, because I have people in my business. Everybody wants to kind of get to where I'm at, where you guys are at, where Arlie is at. Everybody wants to get to this level, but they don't understand. Nobody wants to go and open 1,500 accounts like I did the first 5 years. They just want to they want to jump that process of learning and just become a doctor and do brain surgery, And so, Scott, I was going to go to Mark, but when I said brain surgery, I'll hold Mark off. Scott, give us your best on, that beginning part and the mindset or the psychology of getting this thing up and running.
So you came to me because I needed brain surgery or was doing brain surgery? Which one?
You look like a brain surgeon.
Thank you, by trade. Thank you. I'm sitting and listening to what you were saying before, and I would just bring up that in your presentation, you talked about how, like in Primerica, there's a lot of ways to do Primerica, a lot of ways to become $1 million income earner, all that kind of stuff. But you made the point in there that while everybody doesn't need insurance and everybody doesn't have big money, everybody needs to invest. White, black, Hispanic, Asian, men, women, tall, small, whatever the deal is, everybody needs to invest. So when all of you, think about learning and the sense of urgency that you're going to bring to getting this down, understand you're in a market that 100% of the people, they need to eat, they need to drink, they need to sleep, and they need to invest. Okay. So you should have a huge sense of urgency to get this down, number one. But number two, take that one step further. Not only do 100% people need this, but this is one of the few residual components that we have to building your income for the future, protecting your family by having something come through. I mean, it is just crazy how some people don't get to learning this, getting their licenses down. I mean, this is not to say insurance is the place to be, and you certainly want to be recruiting, but this is the place to be. You got to get this down, get your 100 done ASAP. So great point that you made, Brad. You're muted, buddy.
Hey, Mark, I know you can maybe add on to what Scott was saying and talk a little bit about that startup, the psychology of doing this damn business rather than sitting around watching it being done.
Well, that's interesting. It's what's been going through my brain as I've been listening to everybody is, the vast majority of people that are on this line, I mean, are, I got in this business because I was dying, right? I mean, I was frustrated. I something needed to change in my life. I didn't know where I was going to acquire that change. I was with a group of people this week and they asked me, they said, Mark, what was your why? And I said, I took a picture of my wife and I put that in my mirror and I carried that around with me. And I did an oil of the future children we would have and the dog we would have. And that was my why. None of that shit was my why. I wanted to make money. I was broke, right? I was frustrated, I knew if I could do those things, all that other stuff would happen. But in order for that to happen, I needed to change. I think a lot of people are frustrated. They're just resisting that simple next step And a lot of it is resisting change, right? I mean, I grew up in a blue collar family. I drove a delivery truck. My dad drove a truck. My brother drives a truck. My dad's twin sister drove an 18-wheeler over the road. I mean, this is the family I came from. I wore steel toe boots before I came. I mean, the idea that it came in is like, do I have an aptitude for the, who gives a crap? Figure out the aptitude, right? You got to take these very simple baby next steps. And a lot of that is setting the appointment. I'm going to tell you something. I think risking a little rejection. I mean, I tell you, every time I got rejection early on, I didn't go suck my thumb and hide in the corner. I said, now I'm really going to do it, and I'm going to cram it in your face when I win. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that happened to me. When you talk about the psychology, that was how I handled that psychology, because it was either that or I would kill them, and it would, I mean, in prison, that's not going to help, right? So I can win. And that's just, these are some of my battles from a psychological standpoint. But I'm telling you, the only way I got better at this business was I went out and screwed it up. I screwed up an application. I screwed up a presentation. I said all the wrong things. I asked all the wrong questions, and I kept trying to get better. And by the way, even when I did those things, people said yes. That's the fascinating thing, because of everything that everybody's been talking about, Scott talked about, everybody needs this stuff. And even when you do it not as slick as some of the people that get on here, you end up working through this process, because ultimately you're setting up a mutual fund program. You're helping them protect their family. And I'll tell you what, pay your first death claim. It'll change your life. Those kind of things, those are impactful things that have affected me in the psychology of getting started and growing through it.
Awesome. And we want to, before we leave, I'd like to get your guys' perspective as well on pandemic lockdown, which I think a lot of people are either using as an excuse, or they're still stuck in that mode where I just want to stay at home and I want to build this monumental book of business at home. And we're telling people, you got to go, man, get out and go and meet people. So, but anyway, Mike, help us out with that, the psychology in the beginning of getting this thing off the ground. Before I love the fact that we've got a business that where somebody like Ben feels like there's a home here for him. He's, because when I watch Ben, I'm like, OMG, that guy must have been a rocket scientist in school or something, man, because he is so good. And, and he's talking all of these different things. And I'm just like, I'm just a farm boy, man. I'm just I just went out and did appointments. I didn't know any of that stuff. So as good as it is, Mike, I think a lot of people just don't feel they can ever get to that status of such a stud like Ben. Can you help those people?
Yeah, it's all this stuff is awesome. I related to it. I went to school for welding, and I took 2 years to go through that. And you know what they taught us? They taught us how to turn the machine on, how to weld, but they didn't teach us. You had to get out in the field to learn the trade. And there was people in the business that were 25 to 40 years old. Those guys were old when I was 18 or 19, right? But those guys taught you the business, the real business, how it works, so it took about 4 years where they could send me on a service truck where I could go out in the field and go, I'm confident I could fix that piece of equipment. It's the same thing here, right? Everyone's saying it takes time to compound your effort. It takes time to compound your knowledge. All the stuff we learn on MPI is all for us to put in the back of our brain to give us confidence. But the only way to get the confidence is you got to keep going on the appointments. And just like someone said, you said it, Mark said it, 100 appointments. And by the end of those 100 appointments, you're a pro mentally, but then you are going to get all the knowledge over the years, and it's just going to, all of a sudden, people ask you a question, it just pops off your brain, but you're not going to know that in the beginning. Appointments, right? That's where it all comes down to, and you'll learn all this other stuff.
Yeah, so figure that. Look, I had a chart on my wall on my fridge, and my goal every year was to be on 240 appointments, 20 appointments a month, and I'd come home at nighttime, and I would color it in green if I got an F&A or I picked up policies, and it would be red if I didn't. And at the end of the first few months, I had a lot of red on those sheets, a lot of red. And then slowly green started taking over the majority of, and then eventually I got to where 75% of those sheets were green. But the key wasn't the green and the red. The key was 20 appointments a month. Now to get 20, you got to book 40. And so making sure that you show up on Monday morning with 10 appointments booked is absolutely the most important thing that you can do. Kurt, I want to hand it to you, and then we're going to go to the godfather of Finn, and Doug, and get his take on this.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks. When I got started, one of the most scariest things was like, oh my gosh, what if I put them in the wrong fund? Panic mode. What am I going to do? The great thing about today is this: your RVP has probably got a chart. Use these funds. Okay. Like we have one of those for our team. And I think it gives people confidence, because I didn't know that I didn't even know. I was like an unconscious incompetent. I didn't know I didn't know. And I was just like panicky and scared, right? But when you come here into the business, don't be inventive, copy, okay? What you got in trouble for school for, you get rich here, okay? Copy, find somebody that's doing something good and do what they say. And things aren't going to go like you expected they would go. I thought I'd come here and like be a zillionaire next Thursday. Hello, that didn't quite happen. Okay. So the thing is this: long term, what do you want to do with your life? Do you want to make a difference? Do you want to impact people? Or do you want to have a job and trade hours for dollars forever? Right. So some core beliefs, whatever yours are, need to be inside you, right? Hey, I want to make a difference. I want to do something of value. Art Williams used to say, when they're patting me in the face with a shovel, or when they're patting you in the face with a shovel, do you want them to say, here lies a dud or here lies a stud? Do you want to be remembered because you even did anything, or you had a job and you were a good employee? And there's not, if you want to be a good employee, great, that's fantastic. Just work with us part-time then. Okay. But don't forget the reasons you came here, because what happens is when you get frustrated and things don't work out right, you start thinking, my job wasn't that bad. Selling pizza and candy bars wasn't that bad. It was pretty good, actually. And you start justifying why you want to go back to what you wanted to leave. So when you recruit people, what are the reasons that you didn't want that job? What are the reasons that you came here for? And you got to remind yourself of those sometimes, because we're all going to have gut check valley. And the people sadly that leave forgot the reasons they came here. And it's a tragedy to the thousands of people they could have impacted had they had the guts to stay.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Hey, Doug, the fin, I think the fin's on really the first couple pages of the FNA. The fin is really, I think, what separates us from everybody else. Now, there's other companies I see out there that have copied the fin. They even call it the fin. But at the end of the day, a lot of those companies are out there using fin to capture people and then flog them into products like UL and whole life insurance, where they make their profit, because nobody wants to work with a client for 40 years. They want to work with a client for 5 and just make a big hit. And so the fin, and you coined the fin. Are we using the fin right? Do we understand the power of the fin, and what can people do right now to go out and get started?
Thank you, Brad. I am probably the certifiable weirdest guy on this panel, and that's okay with me. I'm fine with that designation. The fin number is it's very demanding. If you propose the fin, if you use the fin strategy as a proposal, it requires something of you as the presenter, because it demands that you fulfill the promises or the what's laid out as you lay out the fin number. The beautiful classic aspect of the fin presentation is that it allows you to listen until you're understood. It allows you to listen until you're understood. And this is the beautiful thing about asking questions and listening. and then people will appreciate you and they will understand you. And but I wanted to take this in a slightly different direction after listening to everybody here this morning. The people that are on this call are listening and they're thinking, how do I do this business? The big overarching question is how. And you listen to all the experts. And of course, the Primerica presentation is always fast talking, hard edged, driven. And when actually half of the people on this call are not like that at all. They're scared out of their wits. They're not hard edged. They don't want an accountability program. They're not like you, Brad, where they're going to put something on the wall and fill in the blanks. They're going to be more like an artistic character like me, who just was not about doing any of those things, not about, booking a disciplined approach. My approach was a lot more, we'll say, artistic in a lot of ways, very visionary. And so here's a solution, or here's a suggestion to those of you, to everybody actually. It's not how, it's who. It's who, not how. And as you cannot build this business as a single entity. Yes, you can go out there if you have all the natural ability to become a super agent and put a whole bunch of assets under management. Wonderful, good for you. You're in a select group. But the reality is, in the full big advantage of this business is that you can add people to your business. You can add the who, and when you add the who, you'll get the how. And the how comes through who, not because you're the genius, but because collectively you have something that's extremely powerful in all of that. If we it's just like our business, 2 billion under management. How much of that did Doug put under management? Just a tiny fraction. But the assets were built through a hierarchy and through the movement of people and the collective relationships that accrue because of building how, and the who came from the how. So you look at a hierarchy like ours, Brad, and you have a wide range of characters in that hierarchy, like from the profane to the ridiculous, and it's wonderful. Everyone does a little bit, but some do an extreme amount. And so you have characters all. How broad a range do you have as a human being to work with a broad range of people and build great relationships with them all? And see, that's the key to the secret of our business. And the FIN number is the heart. The FIN number is like the universal religion of financial independence. And it's the one that you can believe, and you can have trust and faith in that. I love your comments earlier about Nick Burry. He's the guru. The FIN number demands that you fulfill the philosophy of Nick Murray long-term and manage the emotions. And you're going to do that. I don't know these random comments. It's the quality and the quantity of the relationships that you build. That's the key to this business. And some people are going to be, they're going to be geniuses at booking, 50 appointments a week or whatever those magic numbers are. Some people are going to book one appointment a month, and they're going to bring down the house from that one appointment. And so I tell you, it's all over the board. I love all you guys. I respect you deeply, and I appreciate being on this call. And any way that I can help anybody, I'm always happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, let's finish with this. We got a few minutes left. I just completed my 3-volume set on book a damn appointment. Volume 2 is book one more, and volume 3 is keep booking. So at the end of the day, that's it. Now I know someone's going to say, where do I buy that set? I'm like, the good news is it's not for sale. You just got to go and do it. Book a damn appointment. So help us out. Where do we go? I want to get this FIN 100 under my belt. Who do I talk to, Jeannie? Right now, today, who do I get? As soon as this is over, who am I calling to try and get some appointments?
Who would you call if you were stuck on the highway at 2 in.the morning? Who would you call? If your basement flooded and you needed to move stuff out right away, who would you call? If your cat needed to go to the vet and you had to hold her so somebody else needed to drive, who would you call? those are the people you call, because you're not trying to sell them something. You're not trying to get them to do anything. All you're asking for is, I need your help. I need your help. I need to book 100 appointments in order to get certified for this business I'm started with. I trust you. I trust your opinion. Would you give me an hour? We tell people, I need to fill 10 hours of training. Would you help me fill an hour? And it's that simple. And if they ask, well, what is it? You're going to find out when I meet you, because if they would pick you up at 2 a.m, you don't have to go into a big explanation of what it is. Dude, just help me out. I need 30 minutes of your time. Okay. And this is urgent. I need to get this done this week. That's who you call.
Yeah. So Eldon, I don't have to sell. Like, I can take the pressure off of me in the beginning of saying, I got to sell something. Really, I just have to go out and present. And if I present enough, the need is so great in the marketplace, I don't have to worry about selling. Sales will happen, right?
Exactly. You know what? People can tell if you actually care about them. And if you could just open your heart and share with people and paint a picture of the future, and they can believe that you are going to take that journey with them, and you are going to be a person of your word, and you can do those simple things. Like, one of the most powerful things that I love doing is like yesterday, my notes here is, how do you take your coffee? I ask that question to everybody, because I'll pick up a cup of coffee and I'll go back to their place of work with a cup of coffee. And you know what? I gather friends and associates and people in business that way. So yeah, people need to just like you, trust you, and that means I got to be better. And that's why I love these shows.
Awesome. Awesome. How do you like your coffee? How do you take your coffee? That's powerful. Arlie finishes off today.
You're muted there, Pop.
There's not much to finish, man. This has been so incredible. I think the biggest challenge is that the people that should be listening aren't. There's 1,500 that know already they want to win. The other 15,000 that we've got out there that aren't on connected need to get connected. My heart goes out to them, because most people that need the help every week are not going to the right place to get the food to stay sustained so they can go out and do it. And to me, it's like, just pick up the phone and call the number that's on your phone, or you can talk to anybody if you're not selling. When you're selling, you freeze. If you're not selling, you can talk to everybody. And to me, I love it, because to me, I'm going to talk to everybody. And our business is about helping people get out of debt. The cancer we have in this country is inflation and taxation. Everybody's got it. Everybody needs a cure for it. And the only cure is what Primerica brings to your kitchen table. And Primerica doesn't bring it. I bring it. I'm Primerica. I'll come to your table. I'll fix that challenge for you. I'll teach you how it works. With whatever cash flow you've got and whatever cash flow we can find, we'll fix that problem. Guys, I mean, the world's your oyster. Right now, there is no competition. All there is go out there, learn your craft, and speak with everybody you meet, and you will become immensely successful. But when you do, give back and give it back, because you can't afford to go off. Or the statement I often hear is, well, I did mine, you do yours. Forget it. I don't want to be around those people. I figure we all have a responsibility to be with each other and to help each other till death do us part. And that's my goal. And it'll keep me living a long time. It'll keep you living a long time. Everybody on this, I don't care how old you are, how young you are, you owe it to your friends, you owe it to your associates, you owe it to your team, you owe it to everybody to spread the message we have. It's pure gold. It'll never get better. Thank you, Brad. I can't tell you how much I love what you're doing right now, and you deserve to be extremely wealthy. Everybody does, if they just keep serving for the next 5, 10, or 20 years. Man, I'm so excited. I'm just about ready to explode, but I got to go to another appointment. Talk to you soon.
All right, we're done, Eldon. Good show, buddy.
Fantastic. You know what? There's a couple things we just need to wrap up with here. Again, I need to just thank Home Office, all of us. We just thank Home Office for allowing us to use this Zoom. Leroy and John jumping on, they turn the controls over to us, because we are a field-led show, and it's from the field to the field. Thank you. There's lots of panelists that are working in the background. A huge shout out and a thank you to these panelists that are answering questions and doing things in the background that a lot of people don't know. Again, it's just a huge thank you. And then the hosts, all of the hosts that come on here, the amount of work that they do in the background, the experience that they bring, it just couldn't get any better than that. And this type of training, this isn't the only meeting, but I believe MPI is the best show that we have in this company, bar none. And the other half of this equation is the show that we run on Tuesdays. Actually, there's two. Jump on the CRM show. Very powerful. We're running it in a panel format with live training. It's a little bit different. If you've missed it this last week, make sure you get on Tuesday morning for that one. And then Aristida, I want you to just pop your picture back up there. Share with us a little bit about what's going on Tuesday, and we'll wrap it off from there. You're muted, my friend.
Happens to all of us. Today was like drinking from a fire hose. So thank you, everybody. Eldon, I appreciate you as well. You're thanking everybody but yourself. That's not right. Everybody, please. This guy does more for us in the background than you know. So thank him for that as well. Listen, this coming Tuesday, we're also going back to the basics on the LFIC. Do you see a correlation there? I do. So we're going to go back to the basics. If you're stuck with what the panel is talking about, getting in front of people, we're going to be deep diving in that on the LFIC. And how we do that? Well, for that, you have to show up. So Eldon, appreciate you. And everybody, Brad, thank you again. Arlie, thank you again. I can't tell everybody's names, but thank you. What value today? Mind blown.
Everything will be put onto the Telegram chats, all the updates. Check the Telegram. Again, thank you guys. Have a great week, setting a lot of appointments. Long weekend. You're going to have a lot of conversations.
Make
Have
it
a great
happen.
week. Take care.
Make it happen. Thanks, guys.
Great job, everybody. That was incredible.